Good evening, my name's Conklin McLeod with NBN's Thursday Night News. Tonight, an archaeological dig underway for Newcastle's Cathedral Park. The election laundry list on the Central Coast. And a man charged after over a fire up at East Ballina in the Northern Rivers. We begin as Newcastle's Indigenous and early settler history is being revealed as the council works to make over Cathedral Park. An archaeological dig began today to preserve stories of key figures, shipwreck victims, and more. A cancer treatment facility in the Hunter has started a program to help those suffering from a rare, debilitating foot disease. Genesis Care is using radiation therapy to treat the condition and help more locals get back on their feet.
Walking with ease, Kathleen Tanner is elated to finally be pain-free. The Maitland local was diagnosed with Ledderhose disease about 2 years ago.
I just got to a point where I just couldn't deal with that anymore. Went to the doctor and they told me what it was. I was like, I've never heard of that before.
The incurable foot condition, which can cause painful lumps on the soles of the feet, affects between 1% and 4% of Australians. It isn't cancerous, but it can be treated with radiotherapy.
I was actually quite dubious. I was like, I'm going to a cancer clinic. What? Like, why?
After 10 15-minute sessions with Genesis Care, Kathleen says her life has completely changed.
The only thing I had was discomfort at like my 7 to 10 day mark. But apart from that, I have no pain.
Because we use a dose which is a much smaller dose than we use for cancer patients, it's actually well-tolerated treatment as well.
It comes after an international trial by the European Society for Radiotherapy and Oncology found 74% of Ledderhose sufferers treated with radiation had a good response, with their pain brought under control for up to 18 months.
The finding gives them hope and also confidence and control of their disease.
So far, more than a dozen people have been treated at the new Maitland facility, with plans to take on more patients in the coming weeks.
If they can prove that this is going to work, then why not?
Lauren Kemp, NBN News.
And just in, and NBN News has been given an exclusive look inside the Port Stephens Rehabilitation Centre, where former TV host Andrew O'Keefe is being treated. But tonight, locals have raised concerns alleging alcohol use at the facility, where the local council says the current use of the premises is unauthorised. Its owner maintains he's changing lives.
Down a dirt track nestled in Swan Bay. These are the cabins where former Channel 7 television host Andrew O'Keefe is spending his time on bail. The 50-year-old, accused of violence against women, arrived at the Connect Global Rehabilitation Facility on Monday night.
I had a few today. Yeah, I feel well. Good, yeah, that's right.
And this is what greeted patients today at the centre, police conducting bail condition checks. NBN News has since learned this is no ordinary facility. The pool and tennis court can be used by the public staying in other cabins, and Port Stephens Council says the unauthorised use of the premises for a rehab centre is currently before the courts.
The current approval is for short-term accommodation. It was originally set up as a fisherman's village, so we're trying to change the use so it's permanent accommodation for the participants here.
Owner Ross Penny started the non-for-profit centre in 2013.
The difference here, of course, is that I really believe I don't need a stick, we just need to have good, healthy relationships.
But locals are concerned with images of Bandidos club members at the centre resurfacing and allegations alcohol is consumed on site.
And so obviously they can't drink alcohol.
But they do.
They do.
Of course they do, yeah.
Ross Penny today reassuring the community he denies the allegations and says this isn't a true depiction of how the facility is run.
There's no booze here, there's no drugs here. If anybody has a positive reading, they're out. So strike one here and out.
The program at Connect Global is designed to help men who have struggled with substance abuse. Ross Penny says it has a high success rate. Former participants who now work at the facility back it.
Yeah, I had substance abuse mainly in my life. Like I said, I made a couple of bad decisions and I've come here and completely turned it all around, done a 360 from what my life was.
As for Andrew O'Keefe, he'll spend 6 to 12 months at the facility, but was nowhere to be seen today. Claudia Radoljak, NBN News.
The Central Coast is keeping tabs on election promises made from its newly elected representatives. Cost of living relief and road upgrades are among the top priorities for locals, though. Timelines are yet to be locked in.
Dilapidated roads, a soaring cost of living, poor reception and a health system in crisis. These are the election promises Labor plans to address on the Central Coast.
The community is expected to grow by another 70,000 people by 2036. We should be a priority and we are going to be a priority.
We've been hitting the ground running. We've got a lot to do.
The party's commitments come at around $100 million in cost. They include $40 million of road improvements, with a further $30 allocated for Avoca Drive. Also on the receiving end, urgent care clinics for Gosford and Wyong, and funding for multiple upgrades in Lisarow, Tuggerah Lakes, Carryong and the Entrance. But it's just the tip of the iceberg. Labor has also pledged a $1 billion fast rail service between Sydney and Newcastle, as well as double lanes in the Pacific Highway through Wyong, at a cost of $336 million.
Gordon and I have got a meeting coming up with the local health district where we'll talk about our priorities for the urgent care clinics and an MRI licence for Wyong Hospital.
They've already met with the University of Newcastle and Central Coast Council.
To make sure that we can deliver on these commitments in a timely fashion. It's all about advocating for your community, and that's something that I will do night and day, every day.
And while both candidates are yet to be sworn in, any evidence of their election campaigns has been hastily removed.
As a government, we've made commitments right across the board, both nationally and locally, and we're going to endeavour to work towards achieving those commitments in a timely fashion.
Will DeFulvio, NBN News.
The Central Coast will be transformed into a comic lovers' playground this weekend. After a 2-year hiatus, Comic-Con returns to the entertainment grounds on Saturday, raising vital funds for Gosford's regional youth services.
Straight from the pages of a comic book to the streets of the Central Coast. This is an event the cosplay community has been dying to see return. Comic-Con is the Central Coast's biggest celebration of all things pop culture.
It celebrates so much of pop culture, and I've been interested in so many different genres of pop culture ever since I was young, and it's just been so great to have a Comic-Con in the Central Coast.
Each costume carefully crafted through hours of work.
I graph the character first on a bit of paper, and then I sort of imitate from that graph to an actual product.
The pandemic forced the cancellation of Comic-Con for the past 2 years, but the pent-up anticipation means only bigger and brighter things to come this time around.
Doing something that, gets me out of the house and, hang out with friends, have a good time.
But this unique spectacular goes beyond the costumes with other pop culture highlights, including demonstrations and battles, also taking place across the day. And it's all for the greater good, with Comic-Con the major fundraiser for Gosford-based Regional Youth Support Service.
We help young people 12 to 25 with a variety of early intervention supports, from housing to our Indigenous Justice Program.
Comic-Con comes to life this Saturday from 10 o'clock at the Entertainment Grounds in Gosford.
It's going to be the biggest pop culture extravaganza ever to hit the Central Coast, and it's definitely bigger and better than ever before.
Sophie Scanlon, NBN News.
Yeah, definitely want to hear it. Yeah, definitely didn't want to hear that scare. But a Tamworth mum in the New England Northwest is hoping to raise awareness of cystic fibrosis tomorrow, as well as much needed funds. Tara Bartlett's daughter Lexi suffers from the genetic condition, which at this stage has no cure.
At 8 years old, Lexi Bartlett is just like any other kid, a lover of fizzy and playing with her siblings. But beyond this energetic exterior lies an internal struggle, cystic fibrosis.
A condition that has a build-up of thick, sticky mucus in the lungs, the airways and digestive system.
Lexi has to take medication every day, visit specialists regularly and do daily exercises to keep the condition at bay. At the moment, she takes Orkambi, but once she's 12, she'll be put on Trikafta, a medication only recently added to the pharmaceutical benefits scheme.
It will help improve her overall health and help her body function slightly more normally. At the moment, her pancreas is only functioning at 15%, so hopefully it'll help improve that.
At this stage, there is no cure for the disease, but since May is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month, Lexi's mum Tara is raising funds, hoping no other child will have to suffer the lengthy battle her daughter has.
So on Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. we'll be at a stall at Woolworths out the in Shopping World out the front of Woolworths and selling roses for $5 each to help raise funds and awareness.
Tara hopes the cash will fund a life-changing cure.
It would be a dream come true to mean that she could wake up and be essentially a normal kid.
Jessica Warboys, NBN News.
Yeah, what an emotional story that is, They sound the sirens and now the state government has answered their calls. Glen Innes paramedics will soon have a brand new ambulance station, replacing an almost 80-year-old site.
At 74 years old, the Glen Innes ambulance station has responded to countless calls and rescues, but now it's the one in need of a revival.
It's too small, cramped and not fit for purpose. And spending money refurbishing that station would simply be a waste of money.
The building is so outdated that some of the ambulances don't even fit. Staff forced to leave the important vehicles out in the elements.
The current design of the station that we're in is limited in that it will only fit 2 of the current Mercedes ambulances. And again, they're the latest vehicle.
But today, some good news. Northern Tablelands MP Adam Marshall announcing a brand new station for the town. The $8.5 million development set to bring the service into the 21st century.
This facility is being built with a view to having more ambulance officers based here and also moving Glen Innes eventually to a 24/7 ambulance station.
The new station will be built alongside the Glen Innes Hospital, with construction to begin in October.
Which actually doesn't even have houses on the other side, so we're not going to be disturbing neighbours by shining lights in their bedroom windows as we drive out.
The fresh station is also hoped to boast a rest area, with staff like John Alford eager for a better working environment.
So ambulance stations have been evolving to make them more efficient and more user-friendly, so we're looking forward to having something that we'll be able to work out of.
The new station is slated for completion by mid-2023. Jessica Warboys, NBN News.
The Taree community on the Mid-North Coast came out in droves today to acknowledge National Sorry Day. The event is all about healing broken relationships of the past and creating a sense of togetherness for the future.
A time to reflect and remember. The Biripi and Warramai people gather in Taree for National Sorry Day, acknowledging the faces and the families behind the stolen generation.
They were trained up to be service persons, and then they were serviced out to farms and properties.
The ceremony was held at the Manning River stage for the first time, the emotion overwhelming for some. Brave local elder Russell Saunders sharing the trauma his family faced in the early years.
My father's suffered that. He lost his sister. They did meet up after 57 years and he spent the last 3 years with her before she passed.
The theme of this year's event, Be Brave, Make Change. Attendees say it's all about both acknowledging past indiscretions and paving the way to a better future.
We really need to put resources in to help families reunite and I suppose re-secure the identity of our children that were removed. If you acknowledge and understand history, then you have more appreciation for it and it allows us to reunite as one and as a community.
And they want more non-Indigenous people to join the conversation.
Not an Aboriginal event, it's a whole of community event, so it's really good if we have the broader community come to understand the day.
This is the opportunity to come and listen. Our story is there, we're here to tell our story.
Rob Douglas, NBN News.
At 60 years of age, Bruce de Graaf has saved almost 2,000 lives, and as the Red Cross celebrates the Dunbarton's locals' generosity on the mid-north coast, it's also calling on more locals to roll up their sleeves.
Bruce de Graaf is most people's type, the 60-year-old becoming the first person in Port Macquarie to roll up his sleeves 600 times.
No, it's not a big deal for me. It's just something that I do. It's a habit I got into. Every fortnight I come in and I donate blood.
The humble Dunbogan local is just one of 60 blood donors in Australia to hit the milestone. Making a visit to the Red Cross Centre has been a staple of Bruce's routine since he was 18, challenged by his Auntie Mary to give the gift of life.
She had told me, I've done 40 donations and you'll never catch me.
Since then, Bruce has spent over 600 hours in what he's jokingly dubbed Dracula's lair, his bags of O-positive blood saving around 1,800 lives. The Red Cross team hoping Bruce's efforts inspire more locals to do their part.
We're always looking for new donors. We're currently doing call out for O and A types of blood.
Their calls come after COVID, floods and the flu caused 50% of appointments to be cancelled.
In Port Macquarie and Coffs Harbour, for the next couple of weeks, we've got about 170 appointments to fill. And in Taree, we've got about 100 appointments to fill.
As for Bruce, he isn't slowing down anytime soon, pushing with determination towards number 700.
Money can't buy what we give.
If you're feeling fit and healthy, you're eligible to donate. We'd love to see you.
Gemma Pepper, NBN News.
To the courts, and a man has been charged over a fire at a service station in East Ballina in the Northern Rivers. Police allege a flammable liquid was poured onto shelves on Monday morning and set alight. The flames sparking a large explosion and forcing part of the ceiling to collapse. A staff member quickly extinguished the fire. A 41-year-old man was arrested yesterday and faced Ballina local court today. He will undergo a mental health assessment. Meanwhile, a milestone today for a Lismore company in the Northern Rivers hit hard, as many were in February's devastating floods. Two Mates Brewing is finally back canning its own beers, with the first batch off the production line, indicative of the community's teamwork and resilient spirit.
For Two Mates Brewing, it's in the can, finally. In fact, 10,000 of them have been donated to the Lismore brewer as it rebuilds after February's disaster. Back then, Grant Smith could do nothing but watch as his pride and joy filled with floodwater.
Fairly devastating. It's very hard and still is pretty hard to process that. I think where we've been to where we are.
But with the support of the community and industry, Two Mates has made leaps and bounds. Locals and big-name brewers stepping in to produce their favourites.
So they gave us the opportunity to put brews down, to continue to supply our product, which is ultimately one of the priorities we wanted to ensure we could do for the public.
With the beers flowing, they even offered the community a chance to make a mark on the first batch canned back on site.
We created a competition online, which was our flood recovery beer. We put it up to public to name our beer. We received hundreds upon hundreds of of submissions.
The winner, an entry from Inverell, based around Lismore's new record flood height, 14.4.
I think 14.4 stood out for all of us when we looked at it because it probably typifies the situation. It's something that everybody will remember.
From tomorrow, these 10,000 cans will be on the shelves bound for the hands of beer lovers. It's the first time production has resumed on site, 12 weeks since the flood disaster.
It's really good to see businesses like that with the confidence to rebuild in Lismore, and, you know, it's really important.
Gracie Richter, NBN News.
All the local sport for Newcastle and the rest of northern New South Wales is coming up after the break, as the Knights' Bradman Best is out for at least a month because of injury. The Knights will be without Bradman Best for at least a month, although it's a better than expected injury outlook for the Knights centre after he dislocated his elbow last weekend. Best's elbow has incurred some ligament damage, but with no fracture should be back on the pack in no more than 6 weeks. With Knights coach Adam O'Brien didn't write off the 20-year-old's ability to get back before then. O'Brien told reporters that Bradman doesn't know the meaning of pain, so every time you ask how is he, says good. Fortunately, the elbow went back in quite quickly. It was always a good sign that doesn't require surgery. It could be anywhere from 4 to 6 to the sort of 6-week mark, but Bradman be Bradman, nothing will surprise me if it's sooner. In other injury news, we'll see Adam Clue miss Saturday's match with a knee complaint he's been nursing for most of the season. Instead of again pushing for the pain barrier, the Knights opted to rest the halfback instead of next week's bye and play Jake Clifford after strong form at New South Wales Cup level. The Knights are hoping to have a win against the Warriors this weekend. Still on to Rugby League, and of course the Central Coast Rugby League teams will get a chance to revisit last weekend's washout round this Sunday. The Kincumber Colts are prepared to take out the Woy Woy Roosters in the local derby, with both teams desperate for a win.
It hasn't been the season start Kincumber had hoped for, but despite the constant wet weather, Coach Mick Ahern knows other teams are in the same boat.
It's not like one team's able to train and then others aren't, so it just is what it is. Everyone's in the same predicament.
Luckily, round 4's washout is slated for a second chance. Kincumber finally lining up in a local derby against the Woy Woy Roosters, a clash Ahern is certain will push the boys to their limits.
Any team with Toby Marks is going to be a good team, and they've got good players across the paddock there.
The Colts are sitting with just one win of 4 so far, and despite having an extra game up their sleeve, Woy Woy have maintained a similar season record. Coach Ahern believing a tight defence will be the key to a win this weekend. His side bolstered by the return of their halfback, who was MIA during last week's loss.
Which hurt us a little bit, but Tuklu were much better than us on the day, and they deserved the win. But we're certainly looking forward to bringing Blake Wiley back into the team, that's for sure.
With a shorter comp this season, finals are creeping up fast. Kincumber is sitting 5th, but they're hoping to take it higher in the time they have left.
Obviously, we want to be in that top 4 and be pushing as high as we can.
The Colts take on Woy Woy at home this Sunday. Will DeFulvio, NBN News.
Cannot wait. The Central Coast Hard Opens have been knocked down the Premier League ladder after succumbing to the Hawks. However, it was a different story in the under-23s. The Heart taking down Erina in an impressive comeback after last week's loss.
Between the Hawks and the Heart, the battle began right from the first buzzer.
Yeah, hitting that circle, getting that transition straight down to the centre, to the goal circle.
Although Erina held the early lead in the opening quarter, it was short-lived.
Oh, beautiful take there by Cantwell on the stretch. A tip by Thomas as well. This is an excellent game. What a good one to be watching already.
The Heart finding their footing to finish the first 15 up by 2. And while they were able to extend that lead by half-time, it was by a mere 4 points. The Hawks finally taking flight in the third quarter, claiming turnover after turnover. The Central Coast headed into the final quarter down 38-46, unable to clip earners' wings. The Hawks finishing on top 60 points to 54. The loss sending the Heart down to third on the Premier League ladder. Meanwhile, there was another tight contest in the under-23s division. A fast-paced game seeing the Heart maintain the lead heading into the fourth quarter. Hope White named in the Australian under-17 squad, proving a force to be reckoned with. Her efforts helping the team get over the line. Central Coast taking the win, 61 points to 54. Sophie Scanlon, NBN News.
The number 1 Oval will host a local derby this weekend as the Tamworth Swans and the Tamworth Kangaroos go head-to-head. The Swans sit at the top of the Northwest AFL ladder, but a determined Roos outfit is right out on their heels.
Both heading into round 5 undefeated, this weekend will be an AFL showdown between the two Tamworth sides, mere points separating current leaders the Swans from the Roos.
You can't be probably too confident going early in this season, only coming off 4 games. It's until you really face everyone and face everyone once.
Swans assistant coach Josh Jones might be humble, but he's also confident. He says the Swans are heading into the clash with speed on their side.
Hopefully, we can make that number 1 ground really big on the weekend and run them off their feet.
Some fresh young recruits are hoped to lead the White and Reds to a victory, as well as consistency on the field.
Young Morgan Dunn, he's started the season really well. We've got Jake Cosgrove, who's a young guy. He's only 17 and he's really putting in a massive season, which is fantastic.
Some thorough training in the lead up to Saturday should bode well for the Swans, though Coach Jones isn't giving away too much.
So just our ball use and trying to make sure we can always work it back through the midfield and obviously use our teammates in support.
The first of 3 rounds between the two Tamworth squads also marks the start of the annual Billy Holder and Abbott George Cup series.
2 guys that have been really held in high prestige in this league. It's certainly, it's always competitive between the two sides.
The match kicks off at 2 o'clock on Saturday. Jessica Warboys, NBN News.
Coming up, the verdict comes down to the Group 3 Rugby League. Group 3 Rugby League clubs have made an unanimous call to can the washed out round 3. The decision comes as organisers plan a shake-up to the competition's final series.
The wet weather has certainly rained on Group 3's parade. Organisers forced to put the competition's third round on the back burner.
That round that we lost, is canned altogether. We won't be visiting round 3. That's gone.
Cancelling the washed out round was a unanimous call.
Everyone's in the same boat, so everyone had an opportunity to win those points, which now they don't have. So I suppose it's still a level playing field.
I think it's fair. I mean, if the whole round gets cancelled, everyone can get 1 point. I think we need to just move on and make sure we get some football played.
While postponed games in round 2 and 4 remain in the hands of the affected teams.
The clubs will work amongst themselves to get those games played.
But it wasn't the only point of discussion. Group 3 is changing its year's finals format to a top 4 series.
That does give us another week up our sleeves going into the semi-final series if we need to allocate another weekend for some catch-up games.
The switch-up is a first for the league.
It'll be interesting. It's something we've never done before, but it was on the agenda for last year with COVID and everything that could have happened last year.
And if Mother Nature hadn't wreaked enough havoc already, ground changes are expected again this weekend, with more rain on the forecast.
We've still got some ground closures, one being Port Regional Stadium, the Wingham Sporting Complex, so both those games that were set down for those venues are now being played at Harry Elliott Oval Field at Tuncurry.
Gemma Pepper, NBN News.
Well, North Coast swimmers have returned from Adelaide after the Australian Swimming Championships. 17-year-old Trinity local Sophie Mayers from the Northern Rivers, now ranked one of the country's best after entering in a new age group.
Out of the pool and back home after 5 intense days of competition in Adelaide.
I swam in 7 events over 5 days and was lucky enough to qualify for an individual final.
Turning 17 at the start of April, Sophie Mays was the youngest in her division in the 50-metre butterfly final.
The age final, the women's 50-metre butterfly underway.
Finishing 6th in the final.
I beat my PB by 0.03 of a second, so just a tiny bit, but yeah, it was still a really good PB.
It's a result Sophie's proud of after only just transitioning into the older division, especially given the disruptions to training after the floods.
We lost our training pool, our gym, and I even lost my school as well, so yeah, it's been really difficult trying to find a place to train consistently.
Of course, it wasn't the only event she ran in.
I was there for the 450s and 100 freestyle, 100 metres butterfly and 100 metres backstroke.
The championships were a qualifying event for the Commonwealth Games and World Championships, with some of the country's biggest swimming names making a splash.
There was such big names there. It was a great atmosphere and such a great experience. And I was also lucky enough to travel with another girl from here, my training partner, one of my training partners, Nicola White.
Now back home at Trinity, Sophie says she'll be hitting the pool again as soon as she can.
I just want to keep swimming and see where it gets me, but yeah, I'll be training hard and back in the water soon.
Gracie Richter, NBN News.
Yeah, she certainly will. Next, the weather for Newcastle and the rest of northern New South Wales. To the weather, and it was alright for today, and it was okay, and as it was sunny right throughout Newcastle and also the rest of northern New South Wales. But that could change by tomorrow, which is Friday, and of course it will be 11 millimeters, which means it will be a maximum of 21 meters. It means it will be partly cloudy or sunny. There will be a 5% chance of any rain. The chance of morning fog, then mostly sunny, light winds. Let's have a look at the forecast now. It will be 11 to 21 for Newcastle, 9 to 21 for Toronto, and 10 to 21 for Wallsend. Now to the Hunter. It will be the same as well, and of course by tomorrow, of course, there'll be the chance of morning fog, they're mostly sunny, light winds, overnight temperatures falling to between 7 to 10, with daytime temperatures reaching around 20. And of course the temperatures, of course there was of course a much good decision onto the best with Maitland on 9 to 21, Singleton 10 to 20, Gosford 10 to 21, and Scone for 8 to 21, and of course Newcastle with 11 to 21. While for the Central Coast tomorrow, it will be it could be alright, and then the same as well by tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Central Coast has a minimum of 10 meters with maximum of 21. The forecast is of course 10 to 21 for Gosford, while the entrance has 14 to 18. And good news for everyone up the Northern Tablelands and the New England Northwest. By tomorrow, it will be mostly sunny, and of course, 7 millimeters. It will be millimeters of 7, and of course, 22 will be maximum. And of course, now for the forecast for the New England Northwest, there'll be 7 to 22 for Tamworth, 10 to 23 for both Moree and Warialda, and of course, Narrabri and Weewar had both 9 to 23, and also Barraba had 5 to 21, while Gunnedah and Corindai had 7 to 22, and also Walgett had 10 to 22. Now to the mid-north coast for tomorrow. It will be okay for tomorrow, but it will be a shower or two up there because of the wet rain. And of course, it will be a minimum of 14 metres with maximum of 22. And of course, there could be a chance of a thunderstorm up there. The forecast is, of course, 14 to 22 at Coffs Harbour, 11 to 22 right up at Port Macquarie, while there's 10 to 21 at Taree, 10 to 23 up at Kempsey, and also there's 10 to 21 at both Foster and Bulladila. And also there's 8 to 17 at Dolago, 12 to 22 at Nambucca Heads, and also 10 to 22 at Warhope, and also 5 to 12 at the Barrington Tops. And finally, for the northern rivers, those showers are still getting out of control, and there's there's a minimum of 13 metres with maximum of 21 metres. But also, there's partly cloudy with a high chance of showers with a chance of a thunderstorm with light winds. Now to the forecast, and of course, there's 15 to 23 for Tweed Heads, while there's 13 to 21 for Lismore, 16 to 21 for Byron Bay, and also 14 to 22 for Ballina. And also there's 13 to 23 for Grafton, and also 15 to 22 for both Evans Head and Yamba, while there's 14 to 23 for Murwillumbah. And that's the latest news for this Thursday. I'm Colin McLeod from all of us here. Good night.